Hey guys, it's Anderbun. Sonic Adventure is one of the most divisive games from my childhood, so naturally, I want to get my thoughts on it. I think Sonic Adventure... Oh, come on, I didn't even say anything!
Sonic the Hedgehog is a franchise which is...
Oh, what a franchise!
I swear, I blink and the internet's general perception of this franchise changes. I feel like it depends on the current state of the franchise and what games were recently released. But it feels like individual games get caught in this line of fire. Sonic Mania came out and Sonic Unleashed makes Ocarina of Time look like Superman 64. Sonic Forces comes out and suddenly it's worse than being waterboarded by the CIA for 3 hours straight. I feel like one of these games caught in this cycle of love and hate is 1998's, 99 if you're in North America, Sonic Adventure. Before Sonic Adventure, Sonic was a momentum-based 2D platformer about stopping clogged arteries from taking over Sonic's home. The games of the Sega Genesis are, and always will be, beloved. Sonic 1, 2, CD, 3, and Knuckles made Sonic a video game icon, selling millions of copies and is the main franchise responsible for giving Nintendo a real scare in the 4th generation. Mario finally had someone as iconic as him. Heck, maybe even a little more iconic for a bit there.
But then something terrible happened. 3D gaming was normalized.
Yeah, Sonic didn't have the most graceful transition into the 3rd dimension.
Congratulations! You are the first person to say that ever!
Yeah, I know this isn't new information, but Sonic Extreme was developed for a long time before running into a slew of technical problems and getting canceled. It looked bad. Sonic 3D Blast was advertised as a 3D Sonic Adventure, but it was a top-down game with pre-rendered models. From a technical perspective, this had as many 3D models as Pong. It was bad. There were some spin-off games that were completely 3D, Sonic the Fighters and Sonic R, but these weren't mainline games. These were spin-off games in 3D. Fans were still hankering for a mainline game that would show the Sonic formula in 3D. Sega finally had the power to make that happen with the release of the Sega Dreamcast. Alongside it, they finally released Sonic Adventure. At the time, it was critically very successful and sold quite well for an install base as small as the Dreamcast, pushing around 2.5 million units worldwide. Sonic Team finally found the formula for Sonic in 3D.
I'm so happy when games from my childhood do well critically. Let's take a look at the more recent reviews. I'm sure the critical reception has held up great. Huh. It just says, welcome to reality.
Yep, both fan and critical reception towards Sonic Adventure games have certainly gotten far worse over time, and it really is hard not to see why in certain cases. That being said, I feel like there are some people that are just way too hard on this game. I think it's completely justified for me to be a big stinky virgin and like this game, so I'm gonna just come out and say it. I like Sonic Adventure.
Many people will be saying I'm wearing nostalgia glasses or something like that, but I think there's a lot to like about this game, and that's why I'm here. Today, we're going to take a look at Sonic's first true adventure in 3D, Sonic Adventure.
Sonic Adventure. This is another one of those games that I played consistently as a kid. One time when I was visiting my grandparents, they had a play area in their basement, and that's where I found their Sega Dreamcast. With it, we found NBA 2K, the Namco Museum, but there was one last game. The one. The only. Dreamcast Demo Disc. I probably played the demo of Sonic Adventure more than the other two games combined. The graphics, the controls, it all appealed to me in a way that a game never did up until that point. But since it was a demo and we didn't have a Dreamcast at home, there was little hope I'd ever get to play the full game myself. Later at a friend's house, they put in a Sonic game for the GameCube. I was excited to play it because of experiences I've had with games like Sonic Heroes, but I had no idea it would be the full version of the fabled demo I played at my grandparents' house. But that first level I played, there was no mistake. This was Sonic Adventure. This changed everything. I had a GameCube so I could get this version of the game. So I saved some money, traded in some games, and boom! Sonic Adventure DX for the GameCube was officially mine. I fell in love with this game. It was one of my favorites growing up. And that's why I want to talk about this game today. Alright, so if we're going to take a deep dive into this game, let's summarize the story. The story is very simple, as it is a 3D platformer and was never ever planned to be an RPG at any point in development.
Another fun fact is that I'm a pathological liar.
Yeah, at some point this was going to be an RPG in development. So this has quite the complicated story. That being said, I would have to be crazy to summarize this entire game's story.
You wouldn't happen to have your therapist's information on hand, would you? The game is separated into 6 different scenarios with a 7th segment that unlocks after you finish the other 6. So let's go through them all individually and talk about them. Sonic's scenario starts off with him jumping from building to building and enjoying life, when he stumbles upon a water monster. After easily taking care of him, the monster flees. The next day, Sonic sees Tails crashing his plane into the nearby beach. After Sonic and Tails find each other, they head to the Mystic Ruins and run into Eggman and Chaos, where they learn that Chaos needs the Chaos Emeralds to grow in power. So Sonic and Tails try to find them before
Eggman does, huh?
That alone is pretty simple, but it gets complicated when you take all the scenarios into account. The only other thing worth mentioning is this orange ball of light that acts as your Navi type character. And I'm not just saying that because it looks like an orange fairy from The Legend of Zelda without wings. She is your guide, but she also has significance to the story as she will slowly reveal to each character the origin of Chaos, the Echidna tribe, and how they became all but extinct. All the characters are shown different pieces, and it's revealed the Chaos protects the Chaos Emeralds and the Chao, these cute little marketable creatures in the Sonic universe. Meanwhile, this female echidna named Tikal is advocating for peace, but the rest of the tribe wants to use the Chaos Emeralds to go to war with other tribes. But let's revisit this later. Sonic's scenario ends with him stopping Eggman and Chaos. This is the same thing but from Tails' perspective. It has a little bit more of a focus on courage and independence. Knuckles' scenario starts with him guarding the Master Emerald on Angel Island, when Eggman comes and shatters the Master Emerald into pieces, releasing Chaos and Tikal. It is now up to Knuckles to find the pieces of the Master Emerald and put them back together again. Simple enough. Amy finds a bird and wants to protect it from one of Eggman's robots named Zero. She takes down Zero and reunites her bird friend with his family. Okay, so Big has a frog named Froggy, who gets possessed by Chaos and runs away. So Big goes after Froggy. He then gets back Froggy. Gamma has the most complex story individually, and in my opinion, the best. Gamma is Eggman's creation, and as a result is forced to follow what he says. Gamma is one in a series of robots called the E-Series. After proving his worth against his brother, he is tasked with working on the egg carrier. After accomplishing his first task, he is then tasked with getting Amy to hand the bird she is protecting over. By the by, at this point in the story, Amy is captured on the egg carrier. Cool? Cool. Eventually, Gamma is met with some pretty freaking cheesy dialogue that shows Gamma that there is more to life than following Eggman's commands, and realizing the bird that Amy has is the brother of the bird inside Gamma. She eventually convinces Gamma to let them both go. Moments later, after the egg carrier is destroyed, Gamma escapes and decides that Eggman is the enemy after seeing how poorly he treated all his brothers in the E-Series, including seeing E102 getting completely rebuilt and a realization that they are all just machines. After he frees all except for E102, he has a moment where he realizes that his existence is stopping another life from living freely and realizes that he also must be destroyed. This is some pretty complex character growth for a Sonic game. I love the fact that Gamma's character is so dynamic. I do wish he got to fight Eggman at some point to see how much he's changed as a character, but other than that, this works well. He eventually saves the bird inside of E102 and destroys himself in the process, finally freeing the last 2 animals and reuniting the bird siblings at last. The same birds in the end of Amy's scenario. And that is Sonic Adventure.
There is more.
Yep, that's right. When you think it's finally all over, there's a story labeled Supersonic. This is what the later games will call the last story segment, and is the host of the final boss of the Sonic games of the 2000s. Also Sonic Superstars, oddly enough. Anyway, after everyone's story is over, Chaos goes and steals the 6 Chaos Emeralds that are now in Knuckles' possession, which causes Sonic and Tails to investigate. This leads to the orange floating ball to finish her story. It is revealed that the tribe forced themselves past all the Chao, possibly killing them. That's left pretty ambiguous, most likely to appease the ESRB gods. This causes Chaos to take form and steal all the Chaos Emeralds and become perfect Chaos, and in his anger, he destroyed the Echidna tribe. It's shown near the end of Sonic's story that the female Echidna, now revealed to be Tikal, seals herself and Chaos into the Master Emerald for thousands of years until Eggman broke the Master Emerald, kicking off the game's plot. And that's why the orange ball is following you around, because Tikal was also released, and for some reason is taking the form of a fairy from Zelda. With all this information, Sonic and Tails then conclude that they need to go stop Chaos from getting the 7th Chaos Emerald. Something that they concluded in the first 10 minutes of the game. This is a problem I have with the story. Tikal is showing them what happened so they know that Chaos needs to be stopped. But Sonic and Tails came to that conclusion after the first encounter with Eggman. Tikal showing them all this does nothing to change what the heroes need to do, and so is just there to explain the origins of Chaos, which is important, but I wish it was incorporated to give information to the heroes need to stop Chaos so the story itself can feel more dynamic. Anyway, Sonic and Tails rush to where the Chaos Emerald is, but Chaos gets there before them and becomes complete. Chaos then destroys Station Square, having become the destructive monster he was that annihilated the Echidna tribe. Sonic and friends go to Station Square where Call is. They find the Chaos Emerald, and it turns out that since Chaos only used the negative energy of the Chaos Emeralds, Sonic can use the positive energy to turn into Super Sonic. And I guess beat the hatred out of Chaos? I'm honestly not sure, but he sure did something alright. This means Call and Chaos can peacefully go into the afterlife together, ending the plot of Sonic Adventure.
I just wanted to play some Sonic.
Okay, so I feel like this plot was a bit much. I get that this was originally supposed to be an RPG on the set and that the story kind of got brought over from that, but sometimes, because of the split pathways, it can be hard to follow. I guess that what I'm saying is, I'm too stupid to play Sonic. I commend the attempt at a full fleshed out story, but sometimes they just had to do something questionable. For instance, I think I understand the story without Gamma Scenario, and I know I understand the story without Big. They just wanted a fishing minigame. But do you think that Big is comprehending anything Call is saying? Why do we need Big here at all? I'll go into more later, but his story should have been a side mode you can select from the main menu, not required to beat the game. Regardless of how much or how little I enjoy the other characters' stories, what they're doing doesn't feel pointless, whether it's from the perspective of the main plot, like the 4 main heroes, or from a more personal level like Gamma. There are also some things that don't make sense whatsoever. At the end of Tails' scenario, Eggman tries to destroy Station Square with a missile, like a nuclear bomb. He spends the entire story trying to find all the Chaos Emeralds and destroy Station Square when he had a nuclear bomb ready to go that entire time. Yeah, it was a dud, but he didn't know that, and I know what you're saying. It's a Sonic game. You shouldn't take it that seriously. But things like giving Chaos a backstory and Gamma Scenario as a whole that make me think that they want me to take the story seriously. But it's really hard to do that when you have things like this. Even Eggman says no matter when he goes to Plan B. Then why were you doing it in the first place? Another thing that's hard to take seriously is the voice acting. It's an early 3D game, and it shows. There are some terrible line deliveries in this game, but it's entertaining if anything. These voice actors were much better in the sequel, so I'll give them credit for improvement. But in terms of this game, it can get pretty silly.
Oh no! Our weapons are useless!
Hey, Knuckles! What's up?
Get a load of this!
But just because I don't like the story of Sonic Adventure doesn't mean I don't like the gameplay. So, at long last, let's talk about the gameplay.
Sonic Adventure's gameplay, like the story, is separated into 6 different scenarios. Each character travels around the same hub world and tries to find the next event or occasional upgrades. It's when each character enters an action stage that things start to get pretty different. Each character controls differently and more importantly does something different. There are 11 stages across all 6 stories. Emerald Coast is a great starting level. The beach theme feels at home for an opening Sonic level, while feeling original and fitting the real-world motif. Exploring will reward you with lots of goodies. Windy Valley is most remembered for the tornado that sucks you up near the middle of the level, but the rest of it is cool and fast-paced with lots of creative set pieces. Casinopolis is unique. The level requires you to play pinball and win 400 rings to get to the end of the stage. It's pretty fun. Ice Cap is quite good. The first part is cool. Like the other levels, it rewards you for exploring, and it has lots of shortcut potential as well. But the highlight is the snowboarding section at the end of the stage, an awesome set piece. Twinkle Park has an awesome amusement park theme, which allows for some cool set pieces throughout the level, like kart racing, roller coasters, and bowling. This is yet another level that heavily rewards you for exploring. Speed Highway is awesome. It's so fast, has so many different paths, and rewards exploration again. In fact, all the levels kind of do, so I'm just not going to repeat myself again. Red Mountain is awesome as well, allowing for tons of different pathways to the end of the stage. Skydeck isn't great. It has so many bottomless pits throughout, and so when the game bugs out, which can happen a lot, you're a lot more likely to lose a life. Lost World. The snake at the beginning is not well done. The camera stinks here, and you will keep slipping off. But the rest of the level is really cool with an Ancient Ruins theme. Final Egg is a great final stage. It has numerous secrets and it's incredibly fast. The theming is excellent for the last stage of a Sonic game. Hot Shelter is the only stage Sonic doesn't visit, but Gamma at least has a fun time at this level, where you're on this train and you have to jump from cart to cart. It's a cool level, but the only issue I have with it is that most of the characters that visit this stage don't have the best gameplay style. More on that later. Each character enters different stages in different contexts. For example, both Sonic and Gamma go through Emerald Coast, but Gamma does not go through Speed Highway like Sonic does. Each character must enter the stages to the hub world. To be honest, I feel like Sonic fits better without a hub world, but I don't mind Sonic Adventure's hub world so much. It's small and most of it is not very confusing. There's also a map if you get lost, so I don't have much issue with this hub world. It's not super intrusive, and doesn't break the pace like later hub worlds do in this series. You'll also encounter bosses as you progress. These range from fine to completely pathetic. Not a single boss puts up much of a fight at all, especially the character fights, where the character you're playing as will fight another playable character. The best thing I can say about them is that they're non-intrusive if anything. They're completely forgettable though. Well, except for this line.
Oh no.
Everyone stop. We need to talk about one of the best things about this game. The glorious music.
So much variety, so many amazing tracks. Emerald Coast, the second version of Final Egg, Open Your Heart, just to name a few. While we're on the topic of presentation, the game remains graphically impressive. The environments are colorful with nice details. The thing that shows the most age though is the in-game animations with the characters, especially in the cutscenes. They're so stiff, and they never sync the lips to the English voices, which makes it look really silly at times. But that's all I have to say about the general game, so let's talk about how each character plays. Sonic is the most straightforward, and it's also the best. It really should have been the framework for 3D Sonic moving forward. It's Sonic. You run fast, collect rings, build up speed, and go through the classic loops. When I judge a platformer, I judge it based on two things: how it controls and how the levels are designed. And when I look at Sonic stages through that lens, I can safely say that Sonic's gameplay is a good time as a whole. Sonic controls exactly how you'd want him to. His acceleration is perfect and is super responsive. Some say his jump is a little floaty, but it helps me position Sonic correctly when I'm making jumps. He has all the moves from his Genesis days, plus some new ones. The spin dash and the spin attack are both here and accounted for. The new one is the homing attack, which works well in 3D, locks onto enemies and destroys them. Yes, it's technically not new, it was in Sonic 3D Blast as a power-up first. Get out of the comment section. Lastly is the light speed dash, which you need to charge up in this game before using it, making it not so light speed, so you'll only use it when you need to. Oh, and the light speed attack, which is mostly useless because you need to charge it up and it's quicker just to use the homing attack. I only ever use it when it's required and during Chaos 6 since it deals more damage. And again, the thing that makes me enjoy Sonic's scenario even more is the stage design. The thing that makes these stages work is balance. They are very open and easy to explore, but you never lose track of where you're supposed to go. Alternate pathways and different goodies encourage exploring, and replaying stages encourage speed. Sonic's scenario encapsulated what was so special about the Genesis games in 3D better than any Sonic game has ever done since. Now, I'm not saying there's not other good 3D Sonic games, but this game took the fun exploration levels from the 16-bit games that also rewards you for replaying them and mastering them, and put them in 3D. Sonic Adventure is not an expensive game at all. I would argue that the current price tag is worth it just to play Sonic scenario alone. Again, the only two stages I have issues with are Skydeck and Lost World, but other than that, the rest of the stages are great. Stages like Emerald Coast, Speed Highway, and Final Egg are all iconic, fun Sonic levels. I've heard many say that this early 3D game is ruined by the camera. Well, those people better not have anything nice to say about Super Mario 64 or Ocarina of Time. Oh, you're not being fair, those cameras were just a little bit finicky. No. I've had infinitely more trouble with Super Mario 64's cameras than Sonic Adventures. I can understand and even agree on a lot of the complaints made about this game, but whenever I see someone saying the game is ruined by the camera, I usually feel like there's a very negative stigma when they initially start the game because it's a Sonic game in 3D and that equals bad. No! Actually play the game, and not the DX version. I know I'm playing the DX version, but that's only because it looks better on my capture card. The newer versions are riddled with bugs and glitches that are not in the Dreamcast version. So if you're able, play the Dreamcast version. In terms of what Tails can do, he can run fast and do the spin attack jump like Sonic, but he can also fly like he can in Sonic 3. He can also use his tails to attack. While Tails goes through the only levels that Sonic goes through, it is fun to play these shortened versions of the levels with the flight ability. The objective of the level is to finish before Sonic does. This is made incredibly easy with the use of Tails' flight ability, and these dash rings that you can fly through for a speed boost. It's super fun to fly fast with Tails and is a fantastic framework for Tails in 3D. Knuckles can do everything he can in the Genesis games. He can use the spin attack, glide, and climb walls. He can also punch to destroy enemies, which can be useful in some instances. In terms of Knuckles' stages, he is trying to find the 3 pieces of the Master Emerald in every stage. You have to use the radar to gauge where they are. This sounds like 3D Sonic filler, But because the game controls so well, the levels are already focused on exploration, and the game does a good enough job guiding you, I really enjoy Knuckles stages a lot. Yes, it is a bit of a departure from the point A to point B that most characters have, but it works here. The levels are fun to explore, and the game takes advantage of that with Knuckles, so it is quite good. Amy is the first scenario that I really don't enjoy. This is the first time Amy is playable, so what can she do? She can jump, but not do the spin attack like other characters, and she can attack with her hammer. Later, she gets the ability to spin her hammer around. And I do have to give developers credit here for immersion. It truly feels like I'm a person sitting in a chair making a pink hedgehog perform a pointless attack. The goal of Amy's stages is to run away from the Robot Zero. It really just amounts to another point A to point B gameplay style with light puzzle elements, but Amy is just not fun to control compared to the other characters. When she turns, she loses so much speed, and she isn't even that fast to begin with. Her scenario is super short and only has 3 stages, but the entire time I was just thinking I'd rather be playing with Sonic right now. Sorry, Amy. But on the bright side, you're the most improved character in the next game. You go fishing until you catch Froggy. It's pointless and shouldn't be in the game. The only thing I can say in defense is that when you learn how to do it, the scenario goes by really quickly. My time was at like 20-ish minutes when the credits rolled, and Amy's was like 40-ish minutes. So that's only an hour in a 10-hour game. But in terms of the game itself, keep mandatory fishing out of my Sonic game. I hear a lot of people say that Gamma is as bad as Amy and Big, but I don't really understand that. He controls smoothly like the 3 main characters, and while not quite as fast, he's faster than Amy and Big, and still fast in his own right. He gets to attack everything with his arm cannon too. Come on, that's fun. The goal of his levels is to get to the end within the time limit. The time limit can be increased by releasing combos with your arm cannon and destroying multiple enemies at a time. The more enemies you destroy, the more time you get. At the end of each level, you fight one of Eggman's robots to free them. Overall, I like Gamma, and I always look forward to playing with him in repeat playthroughs. That's the end of the 6 main scenarios, and I think most of them are quite enjoyable, making for an overall enjoyable experience. But what about the Supersonic scenario? Sadly, you can only play as Supersonic for the final boss, but where credit is due, it's the best boss in the game.
The focus is on collecting rings so you don't run out and fall into the flooded station square.
And build up enough speed to hit Chaos while trying to dodge his obstacles. I think it's cool that the focus is on the speed that you build up. It is a Sonic game after all. The music in the first phase, Open Your Heart, is awesome. Crush 40's debut to the Sonic franchise made sure Sega would keep them working on Sonic games for a long time.
Can I talk about the Chow Garden now?
Sonic Adventure has more to do outside the main story. The sub-missions are different modes apart from the main characters. There's a mission where you fly Tails' plane in a style similar to another Sega game, Panzer Dragoon. There's also a sub-mission where you control the cart from Twinkle Park, and a snowboarding one. Some of these are required to progress to the main story, and they're hit and miss. The flight missions are fine, but they're paced horribly in Tails' story. Not only did you have to already do them in Sonic's story, but both flight missions are basically back-to-back in Tails' story, making it incredibly intrusive to the flow of the game. Tails also does a snowboarding mission, but this is the only time you do it, and it's decently fun, so I'm fine with it. There's also the trial mode, where you replay levels from the main game and complete a certain objective. All of this is in service of getting emblems, the collectible that marks completion in any given task. Once you get all the emblems, you unlock Metal Sonic to play in trial mode. That's kind of neat, but the GameCube version had such a cool reward for collecting all the emblems. You'd unlock a new, fully fledged Game Gear Sonic game. This was awesome as a kid and introduced me to so many obscure Sonic games. Another thing the GameCube version added was the mission mode. In this mode, you have to find missions in the hub world and complete whatever it says to do. It's not really anything special. If you do end up playing the Xbox Live version, please don't shell out money for this mode. And then of course there's the Chow Garden. The Chow Garden is an area that you can find in the hub world that allows you to raise Chow to race. You do this by going to the main levels and destroying enemies and collecting the animal that was trapped inside. You can also find different Chow eggs around the world in different areas. This is a simple concept, but is fun and addicting to spend lots of time on. You can sink a lot of hours into this mode, and you don't even need to do it once to beat the main story. Take note, big story. I'm gonna have a lot more to say about the Chow Garden that's in the sequel, but for now, that's all I have to say. Altogether, Sonic Adventure is a great experience. While far from perfect, it still is very enjoyable today. Most scenarios are enjoyable to go through, and the ones that aren't take up about 1/10 of the game's total runtime. Most of the time you spend playing this game will be exploring well-designed levels, going as fast as you can with some of the smoothest controls in all of the Sonic franchise, or listening to some of the best music in all of gaming.
I think Sonic Adventure is misunderstood. Yes, it has problems, but I think there's a lot more good in it than people realize. Give it a shot, you might be surprised. And that's why this game sucks.